Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 179th episode of Book of Hours, playing as the artist. I did mention this at the end of the previous episode, but if you happen to be watching this on the day that it's coming out, I should be live on the Steam page for the game that came before Book of Hours. This is Cultist Simulator, and whether you are a fan of Cultist Simulator or perhaps wondering what that's about, Weather Factory very kindly invited me to help share the game. Now, normally I don't talk about these things in advance. Essentially what I'm sort of relying on is the fact that this video should be coming out at the time when this is happening. So if you don't see me on Steam, it may be that there was just something that came up, or otherwise I wasn't able to do the video. But my understanding here is that I will be broadcasting that game on what to me is next Friday, but in this case I believe is the 21st. And whether you want to just show some support to the developer, whether you want to come and say hi, whether you again, maybe haven't played that game, want to know what inspired Book of Hours and, sort of founded the whole setting, I'd be delighted to see some of you. And if you do happen to stop by, mention you can mention the channel. One, it's helpful when other people promote my stuff. But more importantly, I always like to be able to interact with people, and I know not everybody's able to see the Twitch channel, especially because the Twitch channel doesn't always do Book of Hours. But it's been a minute, so let's actually get into the game that we are all here for, which is Book of Hours. Now, we are working our way to the last level of weaving and not working. So in this case here, we're already reading Perugian Diaries to get the cheerful ditty, and we're reading this text to be able to get the next Newman. Now again, I'm relying on Weaving the World to be able to level up Weaving and Not Working. We've got a storm memory coming overnight, and we're building a storm. So in practice, we actually have 5 of the 6 that we require, but I am going to see if I can just sneak out something like an impulse or a satisfaction from Mrs. Kill, just to save myself a couple of, one specifically, element of the soul. And, if it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. But I wanted, where I can, to dedicate my efforts towards leveling up Pentiments and Precursors, which we're going to be getting out of that text. That was something that was added in a later update to the game. If you read the text here, you can tell what the subject of the text is going to be about, which is rather helpful for planning out the day, especially if you're somebody like me who's a little tight-fisted with deploying the skills to the Tree of Wisdoms. All right, the Swaddled Thunder, a storm swathed in subtle threads, ready to be released with a few judicious snips. The thread parts, the weave is empty, the skies cry out. Thunder roaring, the lightning-lashed skies. So we got a bit lucky with the gale here. Okay, so the gossip will help us with the Pentiments and Precursors, but it doesn't really help me with the effort to try and bring up Weaving and Not Working. So I think there's a couple things I could do here. So I could try something like Satisfaction. I think I'm actually going to go for the Impulse here, because we've gotten the Impulse a bit less from Mrs. Kill. Now, I don't know, maybe we're due. I know that's not how random numbers work, but in this case here, I think probably just getting the memory so that we can work on the next one. We don't actually have anything with Grail. There's no conflicts in terms of what each skill is going to need, so in this case, let's go read the green jasper tablet in this case. Oh, and that is a crack track text. So again, I want to be a little careful in terms of the order in which I do these things. We have some spare time, but I wouldn't want to... Basically, it's 10 seconds here, it's 20 seconds with Mrs. Kill. I have all the information that I'm going to have trying to level up this skill, so I made my choice. I did also have the option of waiting the 10 seconds, to allow Mrs. Kill to come in, but honestly, one element of the soul is not gonna break the bank. I also think I forgot to go... Yes, I did forget to work at the Sweet Bone, so Fixing and mending, there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs, or add coin to find visitors seeking employment. Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Olapoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Olapoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I have never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me, and good intentions or not, I can no longer bear this dream of eyes. We have agreed to part almost amicably. Olapoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies. The latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs, and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, In the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of the old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. Just to keep count, we've got Newman, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're waiting on the 6th one, which will be the impulse in 39 seconds. That's before the 59 seconds is done. And of course, if we get a memory from Mrs. Kill, so much the better. We're not necessarily going to be able to use the impulse with, to advance the Pentiments and Precursors skill, but we might be able to turn that impulse into something else. Okay, so in this case, the satisfaction might have been something that I used for weaving and not working, but in this case I'm going to set it aside just because this will help me with the next task. So in this case, the impulse can get used for weaving and not working, and now we're 2 ahead on leveling up the Pentiments and Precursors, which has Grail and Scale as its targets. We'll almost certainly wind up using the Earth Sign, but before I get too far down this rabbit hole, I just want to finish the current goals that I have. Okay. The Green Jasper Tablet, supposedly copied from a tablet of green jasper which serves as the covenant stone of the Monastery of the Fifth Cup, the token which gives that library shelter beneath the Watchman's Tree. Humankind hid itself from the glory's light in the roots of the Watchman's Tree, but for every chink we stuffed with cloth and hair we opened another, and the light crept in, until we looked below into nowhere, and the eye of the mare in the tree winked red. The tablet expounds the dangers of inviting in the nowhere hour called the mare in the tree, and also of forbidding her entry, since she can never entirely be denied. Along the way, it reveals the secrets of the sacrament malachite, in which the merry mare merrily spits, brewed with the rites the roots from the Numa pear in the presence of sufficient nectar aspect. So there's our impulse. We'll use that to level up the skill. And we set aside the FET for this very purpose. When I thought I'd understood, I'd only begun. And we'll see what Mrs. Kill gives us. Okay, Revelation. Not something we really need right now, but I'm happy enough to work with it. Now, at this point, I might want to take a minute to think about what I'm going to use to level up Pentiments and Precursors. So we're expecting that we'll get 2 lessons learned for this, so that means it will go... So we've got level 5 here, and then we take this up to level 6. And again, I'll do my usual routine. It doesn't... None of this is meant to suggest that this is the exhaustive list of memories that I need to work with. But it is... it's just nice to sort of know what's easy for me to get access to. So basically, if I can access this through a text, it's something that I know I can generate within a minute, whereas if it's something that I need, like let's say a name day riddle, then I know I'm going to need 90 seconds for that. And that would be something if I want to maybe push something over to level 9, let's say. So in this case, Grail and Scale. I imagine there's going to be a couple tricks that I need to do, but it's low enough level that I may not need to worry too much about it. So, as usual, the impulse, so this is Moth and Nectar. We don't worry too much about that. Satisfaction definitely works. Revelation doesn't do anything for us here. Secret Thresholds, Bittersweet Certainty, and Foresight doesn't help, so we don't need the Foresight. Contradictions, Edge, and Moon. Hindsight. Hindsight, I think, has scale. Intuition doesn't have what we need. That's Rose and Moon. Gossip definitely has Grail. Fear has scale. Regrets, that's Forge and Winter. Storm doesn't have Grail or Scale. Stolen Secrets, same story. Pattern, Forge, and Forge and Knock. Solace, same story. Earth Sign, definitely. Cheerful Ditties, no, but Beguiling Melodies, yes. Which brings me to... So the Savage Hymn is a nice touch here. I feel like the Wound Wounds should be with the Regrets group. Wait a minute. Dubious. Or if it is, I should put these over 2 shelves. Anyways, something for me to think about. And Salt, I don't believe has scale. It's Winter, Knock, and Moon. So yeah, we've got more than enough to work with. Like, I don't need to worry about old moments or anything like that. The bigger question now would be if I'm leveling up Pentiments and Precursors. So let's say that we throw 2 core into it. What I'm going to need in total is 9 memories. So we've got 2 already, so that's down to 7. 2, 3, 4, 5. Honestly, I think this is worth taking the risk with. So I am going to mitigate the risk a little bit, though. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for the music first. Basically, all the stuff that Mrs. Kill can't generate. So Sabazine, I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. We'll employ the Whist. That will give us the Beguiling Melody. We've already got the Earth Sign. So in fact, that gives me something to start with already, right? Because Satisfaction, Hindsight, Gossip, and Fear are all things that Mrs. Kill can generate. So we'll just not let that run by. And of course, I'm already working on restoring, or sorry, I'm doing the fixing and mending today, but I think it would be pretty easy for me to get back at least 2 more elements of the soul, which more or less guarantees that Pentiments and Precursors can get its 2nd level up today. So let's get to work on that right now. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. And the turquoise hand, a calligraphic manual of Ramsund, which employs as exemplar text Farid Udin's Conference of the Birds. At noon, the sun moves like the beating of a wing. At sunset, he sends the herald child with her candle. At midnight, he sends the wind that extinguishes the candle flame. Commentary, illustrations, and interleavings carry revelations never intended in the original, a sense of history, and the senses of histories. Also going to reorganize the shelves a little bit here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tablets on one side, books on another, Well, that still creates its own problems. That's what I got. Actually, I have more books than tablets, so it should be the other way around. Also, I suppose it's a little more appropriate. Yeah, this'll do. So, Newman, that old lost music. In the right histories, every song ever sung still lingers in wind and echo, untouched by the demands of eternity. Any librarian can use this to establish a history and complete the game, but the Symergist and Magnate can win a particular victory. So this has got scale. We'll be able to employ that towards our leveling up goal. And we'll see what Mrs. Kill gives us while we're setting up, but honestly, I don't see a situation where we're not able to level up Pentiments and Precursors twice by the end of the day. The skill is now level 7. Its power aspects have also increased. Valentine DeWolf. I'm going to be super happy if she winds up giving me something like, you know, Satisfaction or Hindsight or something. Or no, Satisfaction's no good. No! You know, the really upsetting part about that is I could have actually put the Earth sign in and doubled that up. With that in mind, actually... Nah, we have time. Although it doesn't really stop me from... Yeah, you know what? I am going to level this up. So satisfying to have come so far. Improve the skill to level 5. Okay, so I'm going to employ a couple of elements of the soul to get a head start on some of this. So we'll use our metal at Ambrose's desk. So for that we want to bring back the Earth sign. And then we also want to bring back a Newman. So in that case I'll use the Faust. Probably do that in the reading room. You know what, it's been a while since I've used Collar's desk, and Collars is obviously an unappreciated hero of Book of Hours, so let's get to work there. I suppose there's a question as to whether or not I want to use the turquoise hand again, but let's go for it. So what this is really going to come down to is after talking with Mrs. Kill, so we're generating the memories right now. And what the question is really going to come down to is how much Mrs. Kill already gives us by the end of the day. I may keep a couple of things in reserve just so that I have an insurance policy, but foresight doesn't really help me here. Okay, unhatched hymns. Hymns attributed to St. Lucia the Eyeless, patron of glassworkers and name of the hour called Meniscate. The hymns venerate every sanctioned hour, celebrating them as the sun undivided, but also suggesting that each hour may become the next, madrigad to watchman, watchman to wolf, and so on. The hymn of phases celebrates the Meniscate from whom we do not turn, for the truth which is beauty, the beauty which is truth, and the perfect balance between the two. The hymn of the Reflections more puzzlingly celebrates the Meniscate as the sister of Janus, mother of shadow, whose visage wondrous in emptiness can reveal all truths. And here we have The Wind's Ruin, the second volume of the Meditations of Abbot Thomas of the Abbey of the Black Dove. Abbot Thomas speaks of his time as a raider when his name was not Thomas but Toke, scything the sea, striving for plunder. Abbot Thomas clearly regrets his storm years, and much of the book is taken up with his thoughts on penitence, but there are hints that he also misses those years and the companionship of his sword brother, ship brother, Trigev. So beguiling melody for it. Now I like these because we know that Mrs. Kill is never going to generate those naturally. Now, likely what's going to happen here is the Earth Sign's going to be employed directly towards leveling up Pentiments and Precursors, remembering we need 5 of these, so we'll have 4 already. Actually, yeah, I guess with that in mind, we'll have 4 just based on the readings that I'm already doing, and so technically we only need 1 from Mrs. Kill. I'm sure we can do better, but still. Okay, better now. Let's... I think what I'm going to do here is I will do the fixing and mending, but maybe what I'll do for the next restoration, I'll bring back like an Arab or something, assuming that I even do the restoration. Solace doesn't really help me here. Alright, Dirashu Quercum. In English, the title translates roughly as the account of the oaks, but this is Nathaniel Darcy Evers' fascinating if haphazard survey into the occult properties of every tree he can find, not just oaks. In Persia, Taxus Baccata, the yew is called Sorkdar, which is the red tree. There they had long understood the grail root. In later times, the great king of Pontus had beehives set in the branches of the oldest of the female trees. The berries of the Pontine yew open the door to death, but the honey of their flowers opens a different door entirely. This was not the great king's Mithridate, but one who suckled at the great yew fears poison no longer. Perhaps they should. Nathaniel is here distracted, however, by the toxic properties of certain inks. He does mention more usefully that the minor ink of power yew-gall can be brewed through the rites of the roots with assistance of the aspect nectar. So I'm going to put that up there, but likely I'm going to have to read that book again. And here we have the Turquoise Hand, a calligraphic manual of Ramsund, which employs as exemplar text for Udin's Conference of the Birds. At noon, the sun moves like the beating of a wing. At sunset, he sends the herald child with her candle. At midnight, he sends the wind that extinguishes the candle flame. Commentary, illustrations, and interleavings carry revelations never intended in the original, a sense of history and senses of histories. In the right histories, every song, ever sung still lingers in the wind and echo, untouched by the demands of eternity. Okay, we'll have 2 more memories from Mrs. Kill before we need to make some decisions in terms of how the day goes. Okay, gossip helps, so I just need 1 memory now. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. I'm just trying to think. So there's one argument that I could make for how to do tonight. So one thing that I could do is I could use the... Okay, so what I could do here is I could actually use the Earth sign to generate, level up Pentiments and Precursors. I could then use the core or the health to level up the skill, and then use the other one to generate another Earth sign. And then I regenerate an element of the soul at the Sweet Bones, so that I can read... I guess in this case it would be the Sheridic Book of Suns. So in this case I would want to bring back the Lantern, or the Faust. And that just means that I have a head start on Sacra Solis Invicti. I'd still be down the element of the soul, but I'd be down the element of the soul anyway. What I'm really gaining is the time during the day. I'm slightly inclined towards that approach. especially if I'm able to translate it into something that I can sleep on. Yeah, so the Solace will actually carry me through. So we'll see what Mrs. Kill gives me. I don't need to decide on anything quite yet, but I'm warming to this idea. Okay, as I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So what we're going to do here, we're going to bring back that Faust. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones of the beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. So we'll see in 10 seconds whether or not I get something that I can use to level up Pentiments and Precursors. Another Solace. Okay, so we'll still talk with Mrs. Kill, but in this case here we'll use what we have already. At last, I'm something of an authority in this. And then we'll go to Abbess Nona's desk, and we will read Wrapped in the King to get another Earth sign. Not Instruments of the Heart. There we go. Now again, we kind of need to wait till sundown to get working on the new text, but again, I don't find that a major hardship given that I'd be down the Faust anyway, but I gained 2 minutes. That would, or I guess 1 minute that would be spent reading the text otherwise. So essentially I can translate that into some gains right away. Sadly, I can't take the Revelation with me, or the Foresight for that matter. In fact, it would have been pretty good. I would have been able to level up Sacrosolus and Victi without any effort. But we'll still be bringing a Solace overnight with us. So, Pentiments and Precursors, feats and fights of forgotten things, the Carapace Cross, the line of Antaios, the world of a low red sun. Though much is taken, much abides. Still talk with Mrs. Kill, although this is kind of a moot point at this point. We already know what we're preserving with her. And in 13 seconds we can get started on, I believe it's the last scroll, and then as far as texts are concerned, we'll work on the 3 and the 3. Better now. Okay. So I do want to get as early of a start as I can on this text. And that's just, again, the nighttime is sort of the free. It's otherwise dead time, so it being able to use it productively like this is a rare opportunity. Okay, and we need to provide enough sky. I can never remember which of these skills. I guess Sacrolamea is the one. Ooh, and I'm short. Okay, but if we add the Astrolabe, there we go. I can master this mystery. And I think that's... Oh, right. We wanted to preserve the Solace. Really, we just wanted to keep chatting with Mrs. Kill. It's nice to have. Wrapped in the King, detailed accounts of secret bacchanals and ecstatic dances observed in necropolises and graveyards in southern Europe, in Egypt, and in Anatolia. The author is a self-confessed ghoul and eater of buried flesh. He claims to have witnessed the dances while at his feasting. The dances drew from the traditions of the mysteries of the cults of Isis and Sybil, but include both symbolic and literal flayings, and the human heart is always central in the rites. The author punctuates his accounts with queasily sensuous descriptions of his own interrupted feasts. At these greater feasts, a black pig is always crowned as king before its slaying. On this occasion, its heart was weighted in the balance against a knot of feathers, and its skin became a cape for the officiant. Its flesh was left for the crows, but I must confess my interest was not in its carcass, but in the perfumed flesh of the milliner laid fresh in the earth. In the tracks of beasts and convolutions of his own carapace, in egg vein and shell shadow, the many-eyed one found the signs which can be history. An earth sign is an auspice traced on the cloaked shape of the earth, perceptible to the sensitive, interpreted only by the wise. And we got an impulse for our trouble again. All of these are going to be going away at the end of the day. But I think that's a pretty solid day's work. I think essentially what's going to be happening here, we'll finish reading the Shuritic Book of Suns. We will, it'll probably be about a minute into the day before it gets finished. But again, the expectation is that there's going to be 2 lessons learned. So that'll move up to 4. In fact, I'm going to prep for that. And that'll kind of take us to the end of winter. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't do something like Nin's Cages right away. Because Nin's Cages is going to be a fairly challenging one for us to work with. Just in terms of like getting everything handled, I'll sort of show you what I mean by that. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. So basically with Nin's Cages, we have what we need in terms of the points for the memories. That's fine, but it does give me Quenchings and Quellings, which is currently level 7. And I believe, so even if I get 2 lessons learned from that, I'm going to be moving that up to level 9. What is more likely going to happen is this gives me 3 lessons learned, at which point I'm going to want to take Quenchings and Quellings, and then I want to think about what I'm leveling up. Most likely it's Magaphine Mysteries, just because of the heart side, and I'd kind of like to raise the floor of the various items I'm working with. But again, going from 7 to 9, that's 15 memories that I need to generate. And we've done it before. It's just, it's not the easiest thing in the world to sort out. So I wanted as much as I can to sort of get the low-hanging fruit handled. And on top of that, that gave me a really good idea of what I have in terms of Newman to work with. So again, it's turns out it's 62.4 seconds that I'm going to be working with. I think we can start with the fixing and mending. It's not like we really need the money, but it's something easy that I can do while we're working things out. And again, I would be reluctant to read any other books. The focus of today is really going to be on generating the memories that I need to level up the skills. Once that's done, what I want to do is start thinking about what memories I can generate to help with Nin's Cages. Both reading it, but then also leveling up Quenchings and Quellings. Although, again, we have most of our persistent memories in our inventory anyway. So if I wind up having to use a lot of elements of the soul just to generate things to level up Sacrosolus and Victite, that's fine. We didn't really have that much planned for the day anyway. And of course, there's other things that we can do with the time otherwise. But I think that is it for today. I'm rather looking forward to the next batch of tasks. It's just kind of nice that in this case here, we were able to sort of clear out some books that I'd been sitting on for a while. I know it's a little funny to have these big, powerful books just sort of read all in succession, but I'm in this weird position where these are actually some of the simpler texts for me to read. We will move to Nin's Cages and each flame his fuel for spring. And then after that, we might consider the 3 and the 3. But as I mentioned, there are other secrets of the house, and there's one that I specifically intend to unearth probably in the spring, but no promises on that. All of that, of course, will be handled next week. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And again, if you are watching this early enough, you may still be able to see us on the Steam page on the I believe it's the 21st of February. Failing that, I will try and put a YouTube video up of the recording. They're usually very long, but I know some of you like that. So feel free to stop by and say hi on the Steam page. And if you hear this at any point afterwards, I hope you have a good weekend or whatever time will keep you between the two, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.